maybe skip this
one here.
I think creating is really important in life in general.
There's something that taps into the inherent nature that's in our DNA.
In an age of endless screen time, to actually touch something, manipulate it with your hands.
This idea of like, can I provide a kind of toolkit for helping people build their creativity? That's really so much at the heart of the mission of this. My name is Isaac Bauer. I'm an artist here in Pittsburgh. We're in my studio in Polish Hill, and this is Cojiform, my interactive sculpture system. The project kind of combines the sophistication and beauty of abstract art, the playfulness of building blocks, and the challenge of a puzzle. The things that you build, I generally categorize as either modules, patterns, or structures. The Cojiform system is made up of 3 shapes. There's the L, the Y, and the S. So this has like an S curve. These shapes just appeared one day when I was doodling on pencil and paper. I drew something that looked kind of like this, and I thought, well, that looks kind of interesting. I'd like to make some of those and see kind of what they do if I had more of them. Early on, I only had sort of 6 of these, 8 of those, 3 of these, but I sort of started to see pretty quickly some possibilities. I just found it to be such a calming, kind of centering experience. And so I just thought, I think people who aren't even artists could really enjoy this. Cojiform gets out in the world in a few different ways. They're basically either workshops, pop-ups, or exhibits or installations that I create. What I'm doing is bringing in a kit of these parts. It might be 50 or 100 or 200 parts. And then I'm going to sit down with this group of people and take them through a process where they're going to have some time for self-guided building and play. And then usually we shift gears and I start working with them to learn a little bit more about some of the more complex things that you can build with Cojiform.
Well, I was surprised with the beautiful opportunity to interact with some art today. I thought I was going to be stuck in the editing suite, but I'm here experiencing Cojiform instead. So a great Friday at work.
I don't consider myself to be an artist, but I think I got to experience a little bit of what it's like to be an artist. Things that I was creating, I could see it be mounted on a wall or something at a museum.
We also made some pieces that were rather mobile and durable.
Some of the shapes that we made could only be achieved working with other people.
You got to create together and make it more collective, and you had to cooperate. When you put minds together, you can create a lot more interesting things.
It looks really cool.
A lot of people think that I 3D print these, but I don't. I make molds, and I produce the parts by pouring a liquid resin system into the molds that I make. And this is what we call a 2-part mold. So it has this rubber silicone part and then a mother mold, which is rigid, that holds the silicone back into the proper arrangement. And then you end up with something where you're gonna have to trim off all these extra bits. That's kind of the initial part of the finishing once these come out of the mold. The commitment to the craftsmanship that it takes for me to make the parts, that is somewhat inherently connected to one of the pillars that Cojiform stands on conceptually, which is inviting people into a very tactile experience. We're living in this digital era where we spend a lot of time on our phones and computers, keyboards, on these screens. Those particular muscles get a little stiff and weak, you know, or they just don't get to be energized the same way. One of the things that I'm always interested in is how do you set up a learning experience for people that encourages some of these critical pieces of creative process. So what I mean by that is low stakes, moderate to high challenge, but highly accessible. That is an inherent part of creative process, those moments of what I would call creative epiphany, right? It's fun and it's exciting, and that's happy brain chemicals, you know, that's good for us. right?
I found the experience to be super compelling and really intuitive.
It was nice being able to work with colleagues to create things together. Normally we're just emailing, we're working on specific projects, but this let us work together and engage with each other in a more creative way.
Experiencing something new, something that I could not have even imagined, and then to get to work with it with my hands in person and have that new experience was the best thing about it.
I think the things that have brought me the most joy are the kinds of interactions that I really get to have with people, and watching them go through this process where they may start out a bit confused or even a bit frustrated. Then if they persist a little bit more, they often have that moment of epiphany.
To just be able to come in and work with something that's tactile, just use our hands, create something together. It was a great reminder that we all can create and we all can be artists.
Nice. You're getting pretty expert at this. I think you got it.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh! I set myself a challenge here.
Drop the mic.
Right? Like, go on a great day.